Good Monday morning of the 6th week in Ordinary Time. This is actually very early Friday morning. What time is this now? It's 20 after 4. I've been up since 3 o'clock. Oh, well, that's me. Whatever. Anyhow, I began to realize I'm way behind on these little reflections. I thought, oh my gosh, my friends in Alaska will be mad at me. Was it Helena? What? Yeah, I think Helena says she asked me with coffee in the morning. That's neat, isn't it? I feel something very special about that. There are such, for many of you who are watching this, a number of you anyway, this is part of your breakfast in the morning. That's neat, you know. Actually, it's now my motivation. I'm having a cup of coffee with you. So I'm sharing my thought of the morning. It's not a homily, it's just a reflection. That's all. In company with you. That's the truth. That's the truth. And today's St. James is the text for the Monday morning, and it's an interesting text. Here's part of it. What he says is, "But if any of you lacks wisdom, he should ask God, who gives to all generously and ungrudgingly, and he will be given it. But he should ask in faith, not doubting. For the one who doubts is like a wave of the sea that is driven and tossed about by the wind." See? Boy, that's a great line. James at that moment is actually reflecting, I would say, the culture, the intellectual and the moral culture, the religious culture of the Mediterranean world of his time. The Greeks were saying the same thing. You read Plato and Aristotle. They were seeking a wisdom that was eternal, as opposed to temporal and fleeting. See? One replete with doubt. They wanted the assurances of truth itself. And the Gospels gobbled that up. The Gospels and really at that time, the Greek mind permeated the Mediterranean world. And so even religiously, the Judeo-Christian world was grappling with the issue of wisdom. And then finally, the wisdom of God is Christ. You see? This is really interesting time because what the world was experiencing at that time was tremendous transition. The kingdoms, the traditional kingships were collapsing, I think, at that time. Rome had emerged in power, but it also was at its peak, but it was also fragile in its own kind of way. This was a redemptive moment in history. It begins a century before Christ, especially during the prophetic period. But there is a sense in which there has to be more. There has to be the fleetingness of life, just what he's saying there. The fleetingness of life destroys all wisdom in its sense because everything is passing. There has to be more. The ancient Greeks saw that, boy, certainly late Judaism and early Christianity saw it. They saw it more, and it wasn't just tribal. It had to be more. And it couldn't just be the land. There had to be something that transcended everything and, in a sense, embraced everything, didn't lose anything. It wasn't a mere abstraction, but it was a redemption so that the passing things of this world are eternal as well. You think of love that way. I do. There's certain things in life that one begs that they are eternal, that they do not pass into oblivion. And one is the love we have for each other. See? The thought that love descends into nothingness, that our beloved ceased absolutely to exist. That's intolerable. It's unimaginable. You can't even imagine your own nothingness because it's you thinking about your own nothingness. We are bound to the eternal. The Greeks knew that. Plato certainly understood that. And the Christian world embraced that. It wasn't the survival of a people or a place or a tribe in the best sense of the word. It was the survival and the flourishing and the complete happiness, the eternal happiness of those whom God has redeemed. From what? Not just from sin, from time. That's what you got here in the text. St. James was replete. He understood this stuff. He was up to his neck in it. So he doesn't tell you about freedom from sin as much as he's telling you freedom from time, you see. When you use the word perseverance, be perfect, stay that way. See? And let perseverance be perfect so that you may be perfect and complete, lacking in nothing. See? But if any of you lacks wisdom, I just read, we should ask God for it. See? But ask in faith, not doubting. Ask to be wise. Because I'm a professional, a philosopher by the profession. I'm a teacher, but I teach philosophy. It's the reflective life. These are the kind of questions that motivate the philosophical mind. And one of the most essential, and it goes back to the Greeks, but it is also embraced by Christianity, is the finitude of life and the passage of time. It's haunting once you reflect on it. He says in James, if you're busy about the things of life, you're just busy. What does he call it? He says, but if you should ask in faith, not doubting. Now watch what he says. For the one who doubts is like a wave of the sea that is driven and tossed about by the wind. Boy, is that ever true. For that person must not suppose that he will receive anything from the Lord, since he is a man of two minds, unstable in all his ways. You have to understand the sea. It's true of big lakes too, trust me, the Great Lakes. But on the ocean, the tides and the wind, you see, they can blow you apart. You have to know, you have to find, well, I don't know how to say that right. But if you're subject simply to the tides and the wind, you're going to be pushed all over the place. One has to know how to row against it, how to maneuver, how to read the weather, you see. I don't know if I'm saying that well. But we are in search of a permanence that is personal and eternal, because the fleetingness of time wipes it out, wipes everything out. I think about that a lot. I think about my family, all who are dead, my relatives and friends and family. I think about that a lot, and I know I'm 82 years old, pushing 83, that my life is coming to its end. And in many ways, I already feel it. I feel it in the diminishment of my powers. When I'm so forgetful now, and in a way I wasn't before. Yeah, it's life. And I see so much death around me of those I have loved and been loved by. Whole generations in my parish. Two entire generations are gone now from the 50 years I've been here. See? There is that really, I remember when my aunt sang this to me in Italy. I told you this many, many times. But there is genius in her words, because it captures both the diminishment of time and the hope of eternity. When I was leaving her in the village many, many years ago, 40 years ago, whatever it was, 50 years ago, 1973, as she said to me, ci vediamo in paradiso. We will see each other again in paradise. That's the hope. See, that love is not, love is personal. We will see each other, not know each other in an abstract way. We will see each other again in paradise. I think of that so strongly. When somebody asked me what I thought of paradise, one of my colleagues, I said, being with those, my family, those whom I have loved and been loved by. That's the hope that comes with faith. That time is not final. Eternity is. And with that, I am not bounced around by the winds of time, because I trust in the eternity of the moment of Christ. So I'm not awful. My hope is not in a finite future, but an eternal moment in the presence of Christ. That's my hope, together. Those I have loved and been loved by, my family, my friends, Junie, my classmates, the monastery. Those God has given me to love and be loved by in the journey, now to be completed in the end state of perfect love, paradise.